What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I wanted to say this disclaimer before we get into the video. This video is about a 2-year-old little boy named James Bulger who was viciously murdered by two 10-year-olds. So if that is a topic that upsets you, I ask that you please turn off the video at this time. There will be many more videos in the coming up week, but I did want to put that disclaimer out that there is sensitive information in this video. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be something a little bit different than what we usually do. It does contain a very sensitive subject matter, and it is about James Bulger, who was a 2-year-old little boy that was taken from a shopping center and pretty much beat to death by two 10-year-olds. So if you did not see the notice in the beginning of the video, it is a very sensitive subject. So we're going to go ahead and get into the video. I have notes in front of me because there is a lot. So James Bulger was a 2-year-old, and him and his mother, they had went shopping at the New Strand shopping center. It was a usual thing. They would go there to actually the butcher's shop that was in the shopping center. They would get their meat. Him and his mom were there with a friend and they were shopping. They had went into the butcher shop, and the mother had actually let go of James's hand long enough to get her wallet out of her purse to pay the butcher. By the time she looked back around, little James was gone. Well, they started panicking, and they said, well, he must have went outside. So they go outside. The way I understood her explain it is, when you go outside the butcher's, she turned left. The people who had abducted her son, they actually took a right and took a corner. So she almost saw her son. She just made the wrong turn. So we have to think this is 1993. So video surveillance is not what it is nowadays. But they did have cameras there in the shopping center. So they go and they pull the video from the shopping center, and they see little James being taken away with the little boy, like a little boy had him in his hand. So the mom and the authorities kind of thought, well, he's with a kid. He will be returned. She felt a sense of safety and a sense of ease that he was with a child instead of an adult, like an adult had kidnapped him. So she, in her mind, was thinking, oh, they probably just are pretending like that's their brother. They're just playing with him. He'll be returned safely. That is not what happened, sadly. Robert Thompson and John Venables actually took the little boy to a railroad, some railroad tracks, kind of away from everything. And there, they did some very, very bad things to him. They beat him in the head 10 times. They poured blue model paint into his eyeballs, and there are reports out there that they actually shoved batteries up his rear end. So they were very aggressively abusing this young boy. And then after they had abused him and killed him, they laid him across the railroad tracks, put weight on his head, and staged the body so that when the train came through, it would run him over. And that did happen. Sadly, a train had come through and ran over James's body and split it in two. And it actually was not discovered until a few days later by some kids that happened to stumble across it. And then the police were called, and that's how James's body was discovered. So the police had the CCTV video, but they thought that the little boys that had taken James, they thought that they were like 14 or 15. So that's exactly who they started looking for. They started looking for teenage-aged boys. So they're looking for these boys, and then they happen to get somebody that tipped them off that they had seen these two little boys leading James off. They discovered who the little boys were. They discovered that it was Robert and John. They went to their homes, they questioned them, and then they were arrested. So you can actually go online and hear the police questioning of these two little boys. I heard part of it while I was kind of doing a little research. It's nothing that that I really want to sit around and listen to be honest. I have my own thoughts on this case. I don't understand how 2 10-year-olds can kill a 2-year-old. I feel like that is a certain kind of evil, and I just don't understand how somebody can do that to a little child. Difficult court case because there was an outcry from the public. The public wanted these two little boys dead. They really wanted to kill these two little boys. So they end up having court in a different town to kind of get away from all the craziness of the public. But Robert and John were actually found guilty. So when you are convicted of a crime like that and you're 10 years old, you can't exactly be thrown in jail with adults. So they go to a detention center called Her Majesty's Pleasure. And this is where, if you are a youth, you are held until you actually turn 18. And then the judge or the queen herself can decide if you have to have more punishment, like jail time, or the queen or the judge themselves can kind of like pardon you and say that you're done with your sentence. And that is exactly what happened when John and Robert turned 18. They were released. Well, when they were released to the public, they can't exactly go back into public because the public hates them, you know? So at the expense of the taxpayer's dollar, they were actually given new identities. And what is crazy is, so they are given new identities and they're moved out of that area so that nobody can find them. So it is said that Robert Thompson, whenever he was released at 18, his identity was changed and he made a smooth transfer, or transplant, I guess you'd say, into society. He did not cause any issues. His identity has not been discovered at this point in time. Now, John Venables is a whole different story because he's had to have his identity changed like multiple times. I think I had heard that it was actually up to like 5 times. This guy cannot get it together, like for real. So what happens when you're moved to another area? You make friends, right? So when you're making friends, people eventually find out who you are, or in John's case, you tell them who you are. Yes, he actually told people who he was and what he had done. So as soon as that happens, the police have to come in, pack him up, and move him to a different place. Like I said, this happened multiple times. And I guess he just couldn't seem to get it together, right? So one of the things about this case is when they were released and they were put into like kind of like witness protection, their identities were changed. There was a global injunction put in. Global, yes, global, the whole world. That if you release Robert or John's identity, either a picture, you give a description of them, anything that can lead back to them and put their secret identity at risk, you actually can go to jail. That is everyone in the world. We are all under that injunction. It has not happened that often that there is a global injunction put in place, I've heard of like 4 cases in Britain that has happened with, but there is a global injunction. So if you share a picture, if you give a description, anything that can identify those 2 young men, you will go to jail. It's straight up serious. And the British government takes very, very high measures to make sure that these 2 young men are protected. Now, what I don't get is they killed a 2-year-old boy. Why are we sitting here and you're spending the taxpayers' money to keep the identity of these 2 young men safe? That's where I was frustrated. That's what I did not understand. I had been watching some videos, and then a point was kind of made that this is in place so that people won't be mistakenly identified as these 2 and something happened to people that are innocent. So Robert has, like I said, transitioned. He's got a family by what I read. He has moved on with his life and has not caused any issues. John, on the other hand, has. Besides his identity being discovered because he let it out of the bag, or he did things that allowed himself to be identified. So whenever John realized that his cover had been blown, he called the police panicking and told them that his cover had been blown. Well, in the meantime of that, John is destroying or trying to destroy his hard drives. The police come in, they catch him destroying his computers, trying to get rid of the stuff that was on his hard drive. They, like, red flags pop up, and they're like, oh, something's going on. So they confiscate his computers, and then they realize that there are thousands of images of child pee on it. So then he goes back to jail. So this is to the point where we're at, because it's about time for him to be up for parole. And there's a lot of people in Britain that don't want him to come out of jail, because he has been rearrested twice since he originally got out at 18, and it was for child pee. It seems to be that he cannot learn his lesson. So there is definitely something wrong with John. He has some issues. He will be up for parole pretty soon. We don't know at this point in time if they are actually going to re-release him or if he is going to stay in jail. There are a lot of people that say he should be released back into the public, and there are a lot of actual therapists and professionals that are saying that he should be locked up and the key be thrown away because he is obviously a repeat offender. Nothing is being changed in him. He just continues to do the same thing over and over and over. And it's just sad. It's really sad that he was given this, not only a second chance, a third chance, and now this is his 4th chance, and we're just waiting to see if he's going to be released or if he's going to spend more time in prison. But you would think that he would have gotten it through whenever he was released the first and the second time from prison, that, you know what, I might want to change this about myself and I might want to do right, so I don't go back to prison. But yeah, that's where we're at this point in time. I will say this, just as a little thing, don't go looking for images of him. If you find them, don't repost them, because it is a global injunction. You will be arrested. There are so many people that have been arrested and gotten jail sentences for posting either a picture or information that leads to his identity. So whatever you do, do not post any information or any images of him, because the British government monitors everything. And if it is linked back to him, you will be arrested. Many people, including some celebrities, have gotten jail sentences in Britain for posting information about him. So just as a warning, don't repost anything, okay, guys? Don't go looking for it. That's all I'm going to say on that end. But I just thought it was crazy that you're given a second chance at life after you take a 2-year-old's life away. You get a second chance. Like I said, Robert, he moved on. He was remorseful of what he did, and he moved on with his life and took that second chance and made something of it. But John, he has not gotten it, and he continues to be an offender. And we don't know if he will spend the rest of his life behind bars or if he will be released back into the public. But if he is released back into the public, they will give him another identity because they don't want anything to happen to him or to people that may be mistaken as him. So it's crazy. It's crazy how the government takes up and protects criminals, you know, and not so much the innocent. Thank you guys for tuning into my channel. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.